Hi guys, this is Pestily and welcome to another Escape from Tarkov video. Today I'm talking about a list of suggestions that I sent off to Battlestate Games a few weeks back, and most of them actually came into play. So I thought I'd discuss what I suggested, and then, I don't know, you might be able to give me some more suggestions that I can put forward. So without further ado, let's crack straight into it. All right, starting off, this one actually happened really fast after I submitted the list. It was to allow lab keycards to be back on the flea and to buff loot in the labs slightly. The reasoning behind this one was to let people farm labs that wanted to farm labs again. There's a lot of like labs mains people out there that just love the PvP of labs. And also kind of like something I like about this is mostly back in the day, a lot of the cheaters used to just farm labs 24/7. So it kind of moved some of the cheaters away from other maps and just left them on labs. So for me, I thought that was a good thing, and BSG obviously agreed because they added labs keycards literally like an hour after I submitted the list to them. So that's why lab keycards are back on the flea market. They started off being actually cheaper than the actual therapist cost, but now they've gone up to about 200k. So a little bit more expensive than therapists, but you can actually farm labs now. So for people who love farming it, PvPing all day 24/7, they can. The second one was to buff the loot in locked rooms, in particular the marked room, ultra medical, key bar, and some of the old school rooms like East 310 on Shoreline, where like I once found a triple Bitcoin and just stuff like that, to make those rooms more exciting again. Now, if you haven't noticed, if you go to buy a marked key on the flea market for either reserve or customs, I'm not sure about the actual other maps, like the one on Lighthouse, which pretty much is impossible to get to now, or the one on streets, marked room, or the one on reserve have all been buffed. People have been going crazy getting the reserve loots, key tools and all that kind of stuff. So there's obviously been an increase in loot in those rooms, and I think people were excited about it. So that's always good. Now, number three, this was more of a community suggestion, but I put it up to Nikita and BSG to at least get their thoughts on it. Pretty much it was a hard no, which was to open the flea to all items, make found in raid only required for tasks. Now, a lot of people out there are preaching that they should remove the found in raid. Then that way, when you kill someone, you could take their loot and chuck it up on the flea market and kind of get rid of all that whole found in raid is needed to put something up on the flea. I'm a little bit all over the shop with my thoughts on it. I don't entirely agree with it. There are a lot of people that want it that way. Nikita, I don't know if this is like his official stance, but pretty much just said that's a no. He likes the method that it is. Now, there's a lot of people making videos saying this is the thing that's going to save Tarkov and fix Tarkov and how to make it not broken. Personally, I think at the end of the day, you can voice your opinion, but if you don't agree with it, that's okay. You have to respect that if BSG want to make their game a certain way, that is how it's going to be. So if you're going to make 40 videos or complain for the rest of eternity that you can't sell stuff on the flea market that's not found in raid, well, I think you just got to either get used to it or move on and play something else, because it's just how it's going to be. The argument a lot of people have is the fact that they think that PvP would be better if you could loot all their stuff, and it'd be more rewarding if you could sell up on the flea market. There are other methods to increasing the beneficial of PvP, and I actually suggested one of those fixes right here. I'll get to it though in a minute, kind of in a different order. Number four, this is a personal thing from me, and I knew Nikita was going to say no, but I thought I'd give it a crack. I said completely remove Oculus audio. It's literally unplayable, and for the main reason I've been having a reduced amount of playing for this wipe, and the main reason is we can't understand where people are inside buildings at all. If you play outside of buildings, Oculus audio sounds really cool, and I don't really have too many issues with it compared to the previous sound system that they used, being Steam Audio, or even before that. But it's once you go inside a building, and particularly you're on, say, in dorms, you can't really tell if they're up, down, below, sideways. It just gets really confusing because of the reverberation through the walls and how they've got it all programmed. BSG is doubling down, and they really want to try and make it work. The issue they're running into is there's a difference between immersive audio and I guess a competitive audio. So a good example is something like Hunt Showdown. When you hear a sound in Hunt Showdown, you know they're in a direct line in a certain direction. Whereas what BSG are trying to achieve with their Oculus audio is it sounds really immersive. So for example, if someone was to shoot a gunshot from downstairs, even though they might not be at the bottom of the staircase, but they're just downstairs, the audio would come from the direction of the staircase. So that's where it gets really confusing when you're in a building and you're trying to hear audio and go, oh, they're over there, but it's like really confusing. So we just have to wait and see. Hopefully they make it better. And It is what it is. Now, number 5. Now, a lot of people won't really agree with this one, but it is actually going to be needed long term if the game is going to survive for longer wipes, or if they keep adding more maps. And that is, they need to reduce the time selection down to 1 time per map. This would obviously have to be staggered so people didn't lose their mind. But and you could always go a daytime map. But for example, if you wanted to go customs, it might be at 7 a.m. Interchange might be at 1 p.m. Shoreline might be at 4 p.m. And it staggers through like that. And then obviously the time would keep rotating around. And the reason for that is, as they add more maps, if the player base doesn't grow enough, then the maps are going to be quieter and quieter because there's more players spread out over more maps. Currently having 2 time selections per map means that right now, I think, well, there's 9 maps. So there's 17 different selections because you can only pick 1 for labs. And so you've got all the players spread out over 17 different selections. Now, when you queue up, you've got like a 2-minute window to join all the other people queuing for that map on that server at that time. So it actually does make it so if you're from a region outside of, say, pretty much Europe, or for like if you're outside of Europe or in North America, it's going to make it really difficult for you to really have really full raids. And this is one of the things that will fix it, or will help a lot. Now, PSG didn't actually give a response on that, but it's something I've actually been preaching for a long time, because as the game obviously has been growing in popularity and in more maps, it has kind of stabled out all right, but it will get worse and worse if they add more maps. And also if they reduce the queue times down to, say, less than a minute, it's going to be even harder and harder to get full raids, particularly outside of peak hours for your region. Now, the next suggestion I had was to increase the ping limit. And the reason for this is allow people to play with their friends again. People in the East Coast of North America can play with their friends in Europe, vice versa. People in Australia can play with their friends on West Coast and NA. And people, say, in South Africa, pretty much if you play Escape from Tarkov in South Africa, or in Africa, if you don't play it for the first month of the wipe, there is literally no one on that server. I know people that play on those servers and they go raids and raids and raids without seeing anyone, even in peak hours. And their only survival was to play on the London server. Now, after they condensed the regions to cluster the servers together, it made it unplayable for people in South Africa. And there's also people in South America running into the same issue. So this also helps them, so they might be able to get the closest region to them, so they can actually play the game with people on their servers and not playing just a completely dead game in their region. And if you don't have friends, well, it is what it is. Now, this next suggestion was to increase the dog tag value to 1,000 rubles per player. But this would also require that you need to code into the game, or BSG would need to code into the game that they can't pick up dog tags of people that you queue up with, or they'd have to have a 0 value. And the reason for that is so then when you kill players that are like level 50, you're actually getting a lot of value out of that. If you kill 3 or 4 players in a raid, you know, if you've got a sick case or a dog tag case on you, you can actually make a lot of value from that. And I think that's where you're going to get better value from PvP. Instead of making all you have to be able to sell all their items, there's other methods out there to make PvP more valuable, and they could move around with that. 1,000 rubles per level. It could be even up to 1,500, but they do need to put in that coding to stop it so you can just queue in with your mates, kill your mates, and farm their dog tags. Because that was the reason why dog tags got heavily nerfed a few years back. They used to actually be around 1,000 rubles, might even have been a little bit more. And then some people were making YouTube videos like how to get rich in Tarkov. And you'd literally queue up with 4 mates and just farm their dog tag over and over again, and you make like 3 million an hour. So that would obviously need to be coded into the game. So, and I think it's kind of a cool idea that if you kill 3 people with a squad, you know, the 4th person's not picking up all the dog tags before you can even get over there to loot it. So you'd actually be able to get those dog tags. The next suggestion is increasing the XP for killing players and also making it so you get no XP for killing your teammate if you queue up with them. The next suggestion I did have was killing bosses gives more XP, and this is including like cultists all the way across. I don't know the exact number they've increased it to and from, but there is definitely an increase in XP. I killed 3 cultists yesterday, all headshots, and I got 12,000 XP even though I died. I got over 20,000 XP for fully clearing them, and it's across the board. I feel like rogues also give more XP now, and raiders, but definitely bosses are giving more XP. So giving a bit more reward for killing the bosses. So I think if they could do that for players as well with the dog tag increase, I think it would incentivize more people to do that PvP side of things and be more rewarded for the PvP. I know there's some die-hard people. The biggest issue with Escape from Tarkov, there's two groups of people. Half the group of people think it's a survival game. The other half think it's a PvP, you know, like Call of Duty game. And that's where a lot of butting heads happen. So trying to appease both sides. Number 10 suggestion I had was to actually bring back events, and we saw our first event last week. After I brought it up to Nikita, said, yep, they're going to plan some, and literally we already had our first one last weekend. Now, some people, weren't very happy with the event because it happened too quickly, but, they got more planned. So just be patient, more events will come, and it just keeps the game fresh for more people. And last but not least, this was only a small adjustment, but I thought it would actually save some people some life, is back in the day, queue times when you were deploying was only 5 seconds. And then when there was a lot of issues with late spawns, they actually increased the timer to 20 seconds to help give more people opportunity to load into the raid without it being a late spawn. Now, the fixed late spawns, the only time you really get a late spawn now, if you get stuck on synchronizing with players. But if you actually just queue up and, the lobbies will always spawn together at the start, and they reduced it down from 20 seconds down to 10 seconds. So just save 10 seconds of your life every single loading. So anyway, these were the suggestions I put forward. About half of them have already came into the game, and hopefully you guys have enjoyed them. And hopefully they'll be able to keep bringing in more fun stuff and help bring back some of the players that have got a bit frustrated with the game. I've tried to put in suggestions, and I brought up these ideas with my community as well when I was talking to them and got their feedback on them. But overall, this is all kind of hoping that you guys will enjoy the game a little bit more. It's not really taking away the punishment aspect of the game, but just making it a little bit more rewarding when you do good stuff. I said do. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully you liked it. Like and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Let me know in the comments below if you have any other suggestions. If there's any actual decent ones, make sure you upvote them and stuff, or give them likes, and I'll add them to it and to a list, and I'll put them forward to BSG. Anyway, that's it. Lastly, I'll see you next time.